What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I am your host, Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, 31 Days of Horror Volume 9, Day 14, coming at you live and direct. Alrighty, so we're gonna go all the way back to the 60s, specifically 1968, with a film I've been wanting to see for years. I'm a really big fan of Paul Naschy, and I'm a really big fan of his werewolf films, and this is one I've actually never seen. This is the one that kicked off the entire franchise of Vladimir Dzinski films. And yeah, this has just been a long time coming. I think Shriek Show had put out a DVD years ago. I missed that one, and it went out of print, and it's never been re-released. And Kino, on the Kino Cult line, put this one out on 2D and in 3D, and it is called Frankenstein's Bloody Terror. Now, this title is so misleading because now this movie has werewolves and vampires in it, like many of Paul Naschy's werewolf films. This one has nothing to do with Frankenstein, so if you're expecting some Frankenstein, you're not gonna get it. It's really funny too because, like, I think on the alternate cover art, like, there's literally a picture of Frankenstein there. It's so ridiculous. This movie has so many alternate titles. I know there's one that's called The Vampires of Dr. Dracula or something like that. That one's a little bit more relative. I know there's one called Hell's Creatures, which actually makes a lot more sense because that's like a broader term. And when you're dealing with werewolves and vampires, that kind of makes sense for a title. But I don't know if it would fit for the whole 12 film franchise of Paul Naschy's Dzinski films. So, but anyways, Frankenstein's Bloody Terror, released on 2D and 3D, but we'll get into that in a minute. All right, so getting into the synopsis. Basically, the film starts out with this couple. They're kind of going through the countryside or whatever. They end up at this Wolfstein castle. Anyways, they go inside the castle. They start drinking and getting all shit-faced drunk and stuff. And they start kind of going through the castle and, you know, exploring and doing their thing. Anyways, one thing leads to another. They end up finding this crypt where Wolfstein has been laid to rest. He's got this silver cross in his chest because he's a werewolf. Anyways, the female, she pulls it out of the chest, resurrects Wolfstein. He goes on a fucking rampage into the village, starts killing people and shit like that. So the town folk call up the cavalry, and it's like a scene out of Night of the Living Dead too. It's like literally all these people show up with a mound of dogs because they think they're actually going after like real werewolves or like real wolves. That's kind of the thing, right? But we know it's not real wolves. But anyways, so they show up with all the dogs and all their guns and stuff, and it's just like a scene out of Night of the Living Dead. It's so crazy. 1968, same year. Anyways, so they set the dogs out to go on a hunt. Paul Naschy's character, Vladimir Dzinski, you know, he goes out there to fight it off. Anyways, he has a battle with him. He ends up getting bit by Wolfstein, and he ends up killing him with the cross and stuff like that. So he ends up turning into a werewolf. So yeah, and anyways, I'll just leave the synopsis right there. So, my thoughts on this movie. Now, if you're familiar with Paul Naschy films and his werewolf series, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. You know, it's Paul Naschy looking all jacked and shit. You know, he always gets bit, turns into a werewolf and stuff like that. And, you know, there's always like some type of battle with other werewolves. There's vampires involved. It's actually kind of cool how they do it. Now, this one's kind of set in more modern time. It's still a very gothic film, but I think it's set in like a modern gothic times. But the locations and sets and stuff used in this are fantastic. Like, you're going to get all that kind of gothic narrative going on and stuff. Like, the castles are fantastic. You know, the set pieces are awesome. You know, beautiful women. That's another thing that Paul Naschy always has in his films, is very, very beautiful women, which can always be thankful for that and stuff like that. And, yeah, so essentially what happens in this film is, so once he turns into a werewolf, you know, he's got a buddy that's, you know, they kind of know about the whole werewolf virus thing and stuff like that. So he knows that he needs to like secure him. So at nighttime, which I always like this in the lore of the vampire or of the werewolf lore that Naschy uses, is he doesn't just turn into a werewolf on every full moon, it's every single night. So at nighttime, he needs to be on lockdown because he knows he turns into a killer. And that's what happens. So the first night he turns into a killer, kills somebody, they have to put him on lockdown and stuff like that. So now they're trying to figure out how to like rid this curse. Anyways, one day they end up getting this note from this doctor couple, like Dr. Dracula kind of thing, right? And his wife and stuff. And they're saying, hey, we can help you. But they don't know that they're actually vampires, and they've got like an ulterior plan for them. and stuff like that. And so that whole thing kind of leads up to the whole third act, where you get like this battle with Wolfenstein and Vladimir Dzinski, and of course the werewolves are involved, and there's like hypnotism, and it's what started it all. I mean, he used a lot of these core elements in later films and stuff like that, but it's pretty cool to see it here. So yeah. So how did I watch this movie? Now, I started to watch this movie in 2D. And it looked terrible because I learned that it was fully shot in 70mm 3D. And I think when you shoot a movie actually like that, it's very hard to kind of like translate it over to 2D without it looking a little bit fuzzy and stuff. I know Amityville 3D, I know the Blu-ray releases for that look a little bit fuzzy, and I think Jaws 3D is like that too. And that's the reason, because they were actually shot in real 3D. So this one, I started to watch it, and I was like, it's from 1968, it's a little bit lower budget, it's a little bit fuzzy. I'm like, man, I bet you the 3D probably actually looks a little bit better. So I put on the Kino Cult 3D glasses and watch this fucker in 3D, in blue and red 3D. Now, if you know anything about me, which a lot of people probably watching this channel do, I hate 3D. I can't fucking stand 3D. If I have an option at the cinema to go see a 3D or 2D film, I go to the 2D all the time. I really can't stand blue and red 3D. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it, man. They took the time to put this out in 3D Chillorama vision, so I was like, fuck it, I'll just watch it. I did have to take a couple slight breaks, just kind of remove my glasses, because my eyes get all fucked up. Like, I can't do it. Like, some people can just sit there through like a 3-hour 3D movie and be like, oh yeah, this is great. Fuck that. I can't do that shit, man. It fucking bothers me, gives me headache. It's just crazy. But I made it through, and I will say the 3D actually was pretty decent. Like, there's scenes that are better than others. There's a lot more depth. There's some scenes that are so deep that it was like in my face, and I was like, holy fuck, like that's crazy. And I guess I'm kind of a pussy when it comes to 3D, so I'm not really used to it. But I will say it was pretty good for what it was. And it was, there was some scenes in the third act that I thought were really good, like these really, really gothic atmospheric scenes, lots of smoke, lots of really cool shit that was going on, and I thought those scenes looked really good. A little bit more in the light scenes, those ones kind of popped a little bit more inside the castles and stuff like that, but overall I thought the transfer with the 3D was pretty good for what it is. Like I said, this is a Spanish film made by Paul Naschy that, stars in. He didn't direct this one, which he did some of them, but it's lower budget, so I was expecting it to be worse than it was. But to my amazement, it actually worked out pretty good. It's a fun film. It only runs about 78 minutes, so it's a quick in and out. It's very tropey in terms of what Paul Naschy does with his narratives and stuff. The one thing about Paul Naschy that's always amazing, I mentioned The Beautiful Women, that you can always count on. Great locations, awesome like werewolf, like the look of Paul Naschy as the werewolf is so cool, man. I think he just fits that role so perfect, because when I think of werewolves, I think of buff motherfuckers, and Paul Naschy just has that look. If you know who Paul Naschy is, he's really built, and when he transforms, he just looks scary and awesome. But I love how his look of the werewolf is like a human werewolf, and it's very dark and it's very vicious. He's got the big fangs and shit like that, and I think it really works. It's kind of frightening. Blood and gore, not so much in this film. There's not really a lot of like kills and stuff. It's it's a typical Naschy film where some of his films actually do get pretty bloody and gory, and there's the later ones get a little bit more gratuitous too with the nudities, a little bit more exploitive and stuff like that. This one doesn't. Beautiful Women though. But yeah, man, this one is fun. I really enjoyed the battle with the werewolves and the whole vampire scene with the couple and stuff, and the hypnotism. That stuff was all really fun to watch, man. It was really fun, and in and out. 78 minutes before the credits roll, or like probably 76 minutes or whatever it is. So, but yeah, Paul Naschy, if you're watching his movies, I feel like they're like tragic love stories disguised as horror films. All his movies have like this they're not overwhelmingly romantic or anything. There's always a love interest in his films, and a lot of his love interests end up killing him in the end. If you know anything about Naschy films, which I've said like 12 times, he's very specific in like not living in his movies. There's always a tragic dark end to his movies, because he's generally the bad guy, right? Like, he's the good guy, but he's also the bad guy. He's he's the protagonist and he's the antagonist at the same time. I always like that kind of mixed elements in film. So, but Yeah, really good one, man, from Kino, finally putting this thing out, and I think officially I have all 12 films. The thing is with this Daninsky series is really interesting because there was a follow-up film to this one, I think that was done in 1968 or 69, that apparently was finished, but rumor has it never did get made. Some people say it's a lost film, but no one's actually ever seen it. So officially they say there's 13, but I mean unofficially there's 13, but I think officially there's actually 12 of the Vladimir Daninsky films. And I'm pretty sure I have all 12 of them now. I have to go look. I might be missing one. But he did these films between 68 and about the mid-2000s, which was crazy. He did them all up into that time. And his last couple were pretty low budget, but still pretty cool. And it's cool that he did them like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Like he did them for like 5 decades. So pretty cool. But yeah, another good one. I'm going to give this one a solid 7 out of 10. I'm not really too sure where it ranks in the whole mix of them. I have watched quite a few of them recently. It's definitely better for some of the latter ones, but some of the middle ones are really damn good. I think I did one of them last year, actually. I do Naschy films quite often. He's one of my favorite filmmakers / actors. Love what he does with his work, whether it be his giallos or his fucking, werewolf films or just straight up horror films. He's done so many different types of films. Huge filmography. So if you're not familiar with Paul Naschy, he's gotten so much love over the last few years. I mean, Scream Factory put out 2 box sets. Mondo Macabro's put out a ton of films. Vinegar Syndrome's put out some. Now Kino's on the bus. And we're talking like 25, 30 films have been released in the last few years with really, really good releases. He had releases before, but he's gotten a mad love lately. So that's awesome. But yeah, big ups to Kino for releasing this finally. Good stuff. I think I'm going to try and watch it in 2D to see what the full transfer looks like. I was having issues with, kind of the clarity of it, but I only watched like the first 2 or 3 minutes and I was like, yikes, let's do this in 3D. Let's get the full effect. But I'm still kind of buzzing because my eyes are literally still refocusing. Shit, dude. I don't know how people rock these things, man. How these things are fucking stupid. Oh man, I don't know. Frankenstein's bloody terror. Don't expect Frankenstein. There's no fucking Frankenstein in the goddamn movie. So anyways, guys, 7 out of 10. Fun film. That's going to do it for day 14. I'll see you guys in day 15, which I actually don't even remember at all what I'm doing. And I'm sure we're going probably somewhere else because that was a Spanish film. That's from Spain, so that's another country off the list of 15 that we're doing in this 31 days. So anyways, guys, check you guys tomorrow in day 15, and as usual,